All right.
All right, favorite bands. Favorite band. Each one of us has one. Um, I figure that's what we'll start off with today. Our band. What got us into metal? There's always that band. Some people bands, but there's always the band that you follow and you stay. You follow through. Even when some people, they get into different genres of music. You still stay with that one band. So
Right.
I think that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm Joey. That's Coop. Welcome to the OFC. So we're going to start off with you. I want to know. Well, I know what your favorite band is, and what got you into. That's what I'm interested in because I'm not sure. But what got you? What made that your favorite band?
Oh, my favorite band is Megadeth. Before Megadeth, I was listening to Metallica, and then one night I was playing basketball with my older brother, and he turned on a Megadeth album, which was Peace Sells,
Yeah,
and
actually,
that
that's
pretty
my
much
friend's fit.
that
Sorry.
pretty much made me say screw Metallica. Not that I don't like Metallica, but I said this is where it's at for me. I love hearing Dave Mustaine play the guitar. That's my thing with Megadeth. I love his guitar playing.
Yeah. And it's you can hear, and we've kind of talked about this. You can hear Dave Mustaine's fingerprints on Kill 'Em All. You really can. And to me, I would say Dave Mustaine is the big. It's like there was a group of guys in San Francisco, the California coast, who were, they all kind of started around the same time, but it was really Dave Mustaine to me was ahead of everybody. And I'll tell you, I've read
Mhm.
articles with Dave Mustaine giving James Hetfield props because when he first joined Metallica, I believe that James was just singing, and James could play. He can play,
Right.
right? But let's be honest, it was Dave Mustaine who really kick-started. I don't want to say kick-started everything, but he was the one. Metallica was kind of in front of everybody. Everybody was like everything was starting at the same time, but it was Metallica, in my opinion, that really started the thrash scene. And
Yeah, definitely.
and at one point, Kerry King played with Megadeth for a couple of shows, and even he says how just fast and how good Dave was. Still, I mean, he still is, but in those early days. So,
Yeah.
you know, I never got caught up in the who's better, because for years, I mean, and this, who's better, Metallica or Megadeth. I don't fall for that. Who's the better soloist, Dave or Kirk, and you know who they're, you'll hear if it's a Kirk Hammett fan, they always pick like the best Kirk solos and then match them up with maybe not the solos that were Dave's best, and vice versa. If it's a Dave Mustaine fan, they're gonna pick some of the crap that Kirk Hammett's, especially late. I'm sorry, I don't like anything Kirk has done solo wise. To me, he's just being lazy. And really with the wah pedal, you're killing me here. But then they'll pick those and then put some of the lightning fast Dave Mustaine solos.
Right. I don't think either one of them's better than the other. They each have their own thing that they're better at.
Yeah, I see, and I agree with that.
Megadeth is the speed metal band out of the big four.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I think so. I think, um, at least solo wise, I think Dave is consistent through the years, right? He is
Yeah.
consistent, and it's tough because he writes most of the music, and he's this okay. So he does it. I don't know how. Whereas Kirk, I loved my favorite solos from the Big Four came from Kirk, from Ride the Lightning up into Justice for All. Those three albums are my favorite solos of the Big Four. Um, then he did, I don't know what happened. I don't care about. I don't listen to. Of course, I don't listen to them much anymore. But the solos, I just lost interest in them because I don't want to hear a wah pedal a million times. And I just feel, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. I just feel like, in the days, everybody had something to prove. All of them. It was a competition. We mixed all those bands. And I feel
Yeah.
like, when you don't feel like you have to compete, well, you get kind of lazy. And that's just my opinion.
Yeah, because of all those bands now, only one of them's playing arenas still.
Um,
That
that's
I mean, I see all
Metallica.
of them. Yeah, all the rest of them are mid-sized places to small venues, which I actually like more. I love going to small venues to see them.
Yeah, I think I will say this about Metallica, and that is I've talked to people who aren't even real metal fans. You work with people, but they say they put on a show.
They definitely do.
Yeah, and because they're smart. What you could be, you know, have a wall of marshals behind you, or you can have room to move around, have these stages where you can connect with all your fans, right? You're surrounded, and that's what Metallica does.
Yeah,
And they and they,
I saw them last November in St. Louis, and it was an awesome show. Um, Anybody that says otherwise is stupid. It sounded great.
yeah, exactly. I don't care if you like
I
them or
mean,
not.
even the newer music that most people don't like sounded great live.
Yeah, but they put on a show. There's in the '90s. You had the you had the grunge, the alternative, whatever. And Pearl Jam went to war with the tickets. Ticketmaster was the big thing, I think, about the pricing. Well,
Uh-huh.
it's like, well, here's what you can do. You can go to war with these people, or why don't you spend some time in your show? You don't have to have dragons and explosions, right? You don't. You don't have to do all that. But you put on a show for your fans. They're spending big money to come to your show. Well, why don't you give them a show?
Right.
Right. And I feel a lot of that stuff. I feel like stage presence and all that got pushed to the side when with the grunge and alternative came around. That's to me that's what happened. Now you don't have to be Ronnie James Dio with a dragon by any means, but but you put on a show, you move around, connect with get out there. Look at Joey Belladonna. He's an old dude and he still gets everybody going. Right?
Yeah.
He still goes out into the crowd. He still, he runs down the front. You got to be moved. You can't be standing behind your microphone and holding on to it, singing even flow. Okay. You got to move. And I think I
Yeah.
never, I could not get into that whole scene. It didn't, I remember I heard Nirvana when I've heard of Nirvana years before that in Seattle because my mom lived in Seattle. I heard a
Probably
little bit of,
whenever
I heard,
Bleach came out, huh?
yeah, I still didn't care about. I'm like, yikes. And then they hit with what's that? Nevermind.
Yeah.
Somebody at school gave it to me. He goes, check this out, and took it home and I listened I heard that. What's that? The big song.
Smells like Teen Spirit, probably.
Yeah, Smells Like Boston, because that riff reminded me of. But that riff was like to me was a dummy down version of More Than a Feeling, right? And I brought it back to school. I said no. I never got. I'm sorry. I did not get on the Nirvana and the alternative thing. It didn't. I couldn't, and I tried. I will say I liked I didn't like Alice in Chains, that their first record. I did like Dirt. Right. I did. I thought it was good, but
That's a fantastic album.
yeah, Dave Jordan mixed it, and then of course Anthrax ended up doing. So did Sacred Reich. But there again, Soundgarden to me was more of like a hard rock kind of like their first, like their first one. What was that song? Rusty? No, it wasn't Rusty Cage. Outshine. That was freaking heavy. But there again, it wasn't enough for me to get interested in. But he's a great singer. There
Yeah.
again, You know,
He's actually my favorite singer of all time,
really,
Chris Cornell.
he's
I
good.
love his voice.
Like
And I was a big Soundgarden fan growing up.
my favorite Seattle band is Nevermore, right? They're pretty good, don't you think, Coop? I
No,
like
they're really good musicians. I'm
you
not into the
you,
vocals.
you well, at least you tried to listen to it. And I believe it or not, I do like Queensryche. I like what they do. To me, they weren't metal, but they weren't hard rock either. There was just something about their guitar work. I really liked it. I thought it was really good. I just didn't get into the Seattle scene. I didn't. I'm just like, I don't know if it's just because, you set in your ways is like, give me Overkill or give me Death. That's what I want to hear. I liked Metallica and Megadeth and Slayer and all those guys, Anthrax. But speaking of Anthrax, I don't know if it was in Blabbermouth or Loud, but it was like the band's worst records. And they said Anthrax's Volume 8 was their worst record.
Bull crap.
That's what I say. I say, are you kidding me? I loved it. Even the country song they put out. I love that record. My least favorite is We've Come For You All.
Yeah, that's one album I will never put on.
Really? And there's songs I like on it too, but it's, to me, it just, there seemed to be something wrong with it. Like it was missing something.
Yeah, I mean, all the John Bush albums were great to me.
Oh yeah.
And then they put that one out, and I was like, it's not the same.
Yeah. I just feel like it was, metal was in a strange, it never went away, because, well, my favorite band is Overkill, and Overkill has been slugging it out. Even in the 90s, they still were getting record deals, and they were still slugging it out in the trenches, still, it got to where they were doing their own records, and they were producing them, and then the record label, they would hire the people to produce the record, mix it and all that. Then the record label, the money they got from the record label, well, they would use that, and then they would go tour. It's pretty smart.
Yeah.
And that's how they made it. Because all those years, Dee Dee Verney really paid attention when they were in the studio. I watched this interview, and he said there was so much money wasted when they were on a big label. And I went, yeah, I can imagine. Thrash is a different animal than some, Motley Crue. Right. So you don't need to have all this, it's just, you want your record to sound good, but I don't know. I don't, I found it interesting that, oh crap, Dee Dee said that there was so much money wasted, but I got into Overkill by it was, I start, Metallica for me, Metallica, Slayer, was Metallica, and I really got into Anthrax. I like Slayer. I had a girlfriend for Christmas bought me Decade of Aggression, as a matter of fact. And then Megadeth, right? And my friend gave me this mixtape of just all these different, everything from Dark Angel to Death. That's how I got into Death. That's like the death metal band I like. And then Overkill. The first song I heard from Overkill was Power Surge. And it kicks into that riff, and I'm going, you can actually hear the bass guitar. Holy shit. So I listened to this over and over and over again. And we were remember Headbangers Ball. We were all over at, I think it was Aaron's house. And we were watching Headbangers Ball. And I saw a video I think it was for Hello from the Gutter, right?
Right.
And I saw them, they just peel out and they take off. You can hear the bass guitar, the vocals. His vocals always sounded sarcastic. Like one of my favorite lines is, no, I don't like pumping gas. Do you hate to wait? It's just one of those things. And then I saw that and I went, I wanted that, right? So the next day I ended up I borrowed The Years of Decay. I ended up buying Horoscope, but I bought because it was all in this one short time span that I got into metal. And his name was Nathan. He had the Years of Decay, and I listened to that over on tape, mind you, over and over and over. And they just were my band from then on. Then they came. Then it's so funny. Shortly after, then there was issues with Bobby Gustafson and Dee Dee and all that. Okay. And they got two guys, these two guys are the reason, probably the main reasons I wanted to play guitar, which was Rob Canavino and Merritt Gant. And I heard Horoscope, and it was just, they've never let me down. Even they came out with I Hear Black. I still loved that record. Why? Because it was still Overkill. You could still hear the bass guitar. It was just slower, and there was a couple of fast songs, but it was more heavier than fast, right?
I thought it was a great album.
I did too. I had the T-shirt of I Hear Black. That's how much I liked it. A lot of people don't like it. I think it's a great record, but they've always been consistent. They're able to continue to be Overkill. They have their signatures.
Right.
But they're also different stuff. In the 90s, they really mixed it up from the Killing Kind all the way up into, I know, they started, I don't know, I think it was Killbox 13 maybe, or no, it might have been Relics. But they would always mix it up. I would say the past few records, it was like thrash, but then the newest one, Scorched, it's kind of mixed up again. But they've always been consistent, but also not repeating themselves, which is, I don't know how. It's like, Dave, how do you pull that off? And the guitar players that they have now, they've been with them since I'd say the late 90s, early 2000s. But Rob Canavino and Merritt Gant are still my two favorite Overkill guitarists.
Yeah. I don't know as much about Overkill as you. I own all the albums, but it seems like to me there's 3 periods of Overkill, like with their sound.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
You definitely have your early thrash years, and then you started getting more into the 90s, just straight up heavy.
Yep.
And then, like you said, they started leaning back more towards thrash, about 8-9 years ago?
Yeah, I'd say the last 3 or 4 records. Yeah, they leaned back into it.
But they also kept that heavy sound with it.
Yeah, I know. Like, actually, Ridley and I are listening to the Killing Kind now. It's got Mean Green Killing Machine and oh god, the whole record's badass. But he's starting to really. I figured out what Ridley, when it comes to metal, it's got to be heavy. Seriously, it's got to be heavy. It's got to have that guitar in it, that guitar sound, and it's got to catch his attention. So he doesn't just like everything. He likes Pantera, and he likes Zombie. He likes, he was on an Anthrax kick. Then he was Exodus for a while, but he, now we're in Overkill, and he's, so I think that, it's these bands, the genre, like the genre that we really listen to the most of, it never went away. It just went back underground. You had it kind of popped up, and you had the big 4. Yeah. And then you had the group that came after it, which they always said, if there was, they always lump in Overkill and Exodus and Testament, Flotsam and Jetsam. Angel. Yeah, Death Angel. Then they all come up after. But then it was, oversaturation, right? Then everything was, because it, when they were all younger, they were all trying to play faster than each other. I think Metallica kind of got a little smarter and said, okay, let's, I think they all they played fast, and then they started seeing different levels of success. Of course, even Overkill did, everybody, but you don't want to just play fast forever. But that genre, that what's missing in music, in my opinion, now is rebellion. Nobody's rebellious anymore. They're just not. There's no more punk. There's no more, Rage for the Machine. They should have just stayed gone when they started trying to push their messages, which at the end of the day, nobody wants to hear it anymore. People have enough crap. They just want to hear their bands playing their music. If you have a message in your music, fine. Just play your music. Nobody wants to hear chatter anymore. And
Now
now,
that's my thing. Like, we go to lots of concerts,
right.
probably at least 5, 6 a year. And I don't care what their politics are. I don't want to hear anything like that during the show.
Exactly.
You're there to have fun,
Right.
not divide people.
Yeah, and I think what's happening is there needs to be there's got to be the band that is just rebellious enough, and then it'll kickstart something, right? I never took Avenged Sevenfold I never took them serious. Yeah, I know they came, but the first thing I noticed about someone was, oh, this band's awesome. No, it's not. And tell them to give Overkill their moniker back because they stole it. I didn't take them serious. I didn't get into that metalcore shit because it was, you know, and screaming at I can't do it, and I, no, I didn't even get into Slipknot. I'm sorry, I couldn't. I tried to, they came out with their first one, and then I was with my friend, don't know if you remember Roger. We zipped up to Jasper and he got the new Slipknot. I didn't like it either. Iowa.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Only,
devil, a goat head. Ooh, you're so edgy. And I can't. I never got into them. I didn't care
the
about
only
the masks.
Slipknot I could ever see you liking is from the third album on, because that's whenever they started getting more serious and not just trying to scream all the time, I thought.
Yeah, the screaming and the one constant. I don't know if Pantera started the breakdown, but that's the band I remember when they off their Cowboys from Hell record when they did was it Domination, the dun, 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 dun. So
Uh-huh.
now you have bands doing nothing, but that's their whole song. I heard Hatebreed. Now I don't know if they've changed. I heard their first record, and to me it was one long song.
Yeah, they've definitely matured a lot.
Did they? I heard
I
Hatebreed because my friend got into them, and it was one long song. I put it in, and it was just it. I just heard pauses in one long song, and I went, "What the fuck is this?"
yeah, I didn't like Hatebreed when they first came out, but as they went on and they matured a little bit and actually started writing music, I did get into Hatebreed.
Oh, did you? I couldn't. I got there was a band, Fear Factory. To me, started the singing with the growling voice. They did both. In the first, I want to say the first one they put the first record, and I had it on tape, was called Soul of a New Machine.
Yep.
I love that. I wish I could find it on CD because I would play that. To me, that is their best record, their first one.
I'll
The
sell it to
second one
you.
on CD, I love it. I think it's great. I bought it and I would listen to. I mean, it's there again. What band do I always go back to? Overkill. I love one of my favorite bands is Nevermore. I love Nevermore. They toured with Overkill. Who do I go back to? Overkill. You know, I played the hell out of when Megadeth put out for the few of their records. I'd listen to the hell out of it. I would go back to Overkill. Flotsam and Jetsam. Go back. That's why that Overkill's been my go-to band. Always has been.
You're always going to go back to your favorite.
I
I'm the
think.
same way, even though I listen to a lot more music than you do.
Yeah.
But I want to find something quick while I'm taking a shower. Gotta have music while I'm showering. Megadeth album.
Megan, to me, I will say this. I will say this about Dave Mustaine. If I could, I would interview Dave. To me, he is a survivor, of the thrash scene because let's be honest, the whole Metallica thing happened. What I think happened, apparently at that time in Dave's life, he was out of control, I guess. Or he would get drunk, and he admitted it too. It's not, I'm saying, he said, that, the other guys would get silly. He wanted to fight. Dave, I feel like Dave's done enough apologizing and enough admitting his faults to where, the way what happened to him probably was unfair. Would it have mattered if they did something different? Probably not. They were all young kids. You know, rest of Metallica, they were, they're young kids scared to death in New York, across the country. So they did they put Dave on a bus and shipped him back. And he was able to start a band and got it off the ground. And, here we are to this day. He still makes money off of Metallica. You do know that, right? So, because, and they pay him, which is as they should. But, sorry, throat's dry. With all that being said, I was watching this interview, and it had Chris Poland it was Chris Poland interview, and he was talking about, excuse me, Dave never brought Metallica up. He never brought him up. You put out a record, you do the cycle. You put out a record, interviews, pushing your record, tour, and you do, it's a cycle. He would never bring up Metallica. Everybody else would, right? So that would,
they wanted that drama.
I think so. And, at that point, Metallica just didn't care. So they never come. Why would they? They were just, Dave had to fight from the bottom up, and Metallica was still this way. And so I think that may have helped Dave's career, because they kept bringing up Metallica, and it was, so what do people start doing? God, well, who's better? Well, come on, Master of Puppets came out, and it was better.
Yeah.
But who played faster? Who was more technical? Dave. So it was a constant, and that's the thing about the big four I always liked. You had Anthrax was different from Slayer, was different from Megadeth, was different from Metallica.
I think Megadeth would have been bigger if Mustaine was a better singer. Although I love his vocals, most people hate him.
Well, but that makes I think his vocals were better until he put out what's the Countdown to Extinction. Just like with Metallica, James, you can't sing, stop doing it. Go back to what you were good at. I'm sorry. I did when he's singing, it just, now it could be to save his voice, but I can't stand it. I can't. Just do what you do. Joey Belladonna sings. You not so much. Do what you can do. Now, Blitz can sing. Blitz can do that stuff. He changed his vocals in, what is it? He changed his vocals to that gruffier sound with Under the Influence, right? Everything changed from them. And then they really came into their own on the Years of Decay on. But there again, a lot of people don't like, some people don't like Blitz's vocals, but you can't have Overkill with that. That's one of their staples. It's the vocals and the bass guitar, because you always hear bass, the clank, I guess it's called. So
yeah, I think that's one thing we have in common with our bands. Definitely the different vocals.
Yeah, and Dave, you can't have Megadeth with somebody else singing. I don't think so. Maybe I think
it wouldn't be Megadeth.
I think all the way. I think everything Dave does is, music is a business, and he understands this. I mean, and I think what happened to him in Metallica, right or wrong, it's not going to happen again. Megadeth is his band. He's the guy, and good for him too. Jesus, sorry. So all the way to the idiot, Junior Ellefson pulling his crap. What an idiot! He should know better. Dave erased him from the band pretty much, and I understand why he did it.
Yeah, you don't need that kind of controversy around.
No, you don't. And I don't care how good of a friend you are. I wouldn't have had it, because then they're getting ready to put out a record. You would have had nothing but controversy. It would have just caused nothing but issues. So Dave did what he did, and I understand it, and I kind of agree with it. He got Steve DiGiorgio in there, who's a professional. He got in there, put down new bass track, re-recorded all the bass tracks, And then they had the old bass player is playing with them now. He came back. And there again, Dave is responsible for not just writing music. He's he's got, people that work for him, merchandise. He's got all these things that he's responsible. I mean, he's got a management team, I think, again, or he always had. But you're responsible for it. You're responsible for people to get paid. And the last thing you need is dealing with some kind of baloney. It's a bullshit. You just don't need it. So I remember when it came out, I was talking to my friend about it. I said, now I can't say if I would have kicked you out or not. I can't say. I could say, no, I wouldn't. We've been friends for decades. But I would definitely make fun of you all the time. I said, you would never hear the end of it. I wouldn't make fun of you in interviews. I would make fun of you on stage because that is just a boneheaded thing to do. But there again, Dave Mustaine is to me is the ultimate survivalist. He's a survivor in the whole genre. Blitz had heart issues at one point. He had cancer. He's still going. These guys keep going, and you pick yourself up. And we don't have that in music anymore. A lot of these bands, nobody's rebellious anymore. I don't think so. There's no anger anymore. Right. Nobody's angry. Screaming at the top of your lungs doesn't make you angry. It's missing something.
Just a bunch of fake rebels.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Anthrax did a song called Package Rebellion. To me, that's what everything is now. You're not being rebellious. You're trying to fit in. And when that flavor's done for the day, you're going to move on to the next thing. And then you're not standing for anything. You're just standing for what's popular at the moment. So I think that's what's. I mean, listen, the punk scene to me was instrumental in thrash because what's his face, Jeff Hanneman was really into punk. He introduced Kerry King into punk, to punk music.
They did a whole album with punk.
Yeah, Anthrax, hardcore/punk scene. Scott Ian was really into it. Look at Overkill, huge punk influence in that. You could tell even to this day, you can hear the punk. It's like a mixture of punk and Black Sabbath with some Judas Priest sprinkled in. That's what Overkill is to me. Metallica, Cliff Burton was into the Misfits. He had that tattoo on his arm. He was so into the Misfits. So I think punk
and Diamond Head. They love Diamond Head.
Diamond Head, yeah. Diamond Head. I've heard some old Diamond Head, and you're like, what are you doing? But there again, it was different. It was, really interesting. I mean, everything, now you can't. It was Slayer was into, Kerry King horror movies, right? That's what he said. Ooh, horror movies. And that's where they got their imagery from, right? So, but there again, now there's nothing, there's nothing more, against the grain, and especially in the 70s into the 80s, horror movies, right?
Yeah.
But then nobody cared if you got your feelings hurt. Now everybody's worried about your feelings. So what there needs to, I think, to really resuscitate, especially any kind of metal, thrash metals, for somebody to get out there and to just make people mad. You know what I mean? It's like an attitude to have. If you don't like it, fuck you. Where's that attitude? It's, I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. Oh, shut up. That's
because that's what metal is.
Yeah, exactly. To make everybody mad, and it's gone now.
It's giving everybody the middle finger. If you don't like it, blow me.
Yeah, and that's to me is what's missing in music now.
You were speaking on punk. I actually was listening to music with my grandson who's 7 yesterday. I turned on Black Flag and listened to Drink Drive. Who's going to talk about Drink Drive Kill anymore?
Oh, didn't Slayer do that song Damn Drunks Against Mad Mothers? It was a punk song and they covered it. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, of course nobody likes drinking and driving, but in metal you shouldn't care. Just write a song about it.
Yeah, just enough to aggravate people. That's what it's about. Nobody wants to aggravate anybody. I think everything. I'm really into there's this this podcaster I listen to, right? His name's Sam Tripoli. It's Sam Tripoli and Tim Pool. Why I want to do this, right? You tell me how those two make any sense if you know anything about it. But Sam Tripoli, he's talking about the state of comedy right now, and it's starting to make a comeback where it's not about fart jokes, everybody, safe jokes. And I think he's right. I'm not going to talk about the bit over this, but he did this bit. He was proving a point, and it just went viral. And I'll tell you about it later, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's what music needs. It doesn't matter if you agree. It's like thrash music. If you don't like it, don't listen to it. But that's what made people, go toward people like you and I. I didn't listen to all the cock rock. I didn't want to hear it. It did. I wanted.
Where I grew up, it was all country.
Oh, I know. I'm sorry. Yeah. So
not for me.
You gravitate towards something. It's just a big middle finger in the bastards. Fuck you. And that's what thrash was to me. I mean, and I will say, the big four, as everybody called them. That's how they started off, right? And then as you get older and you put out records, you start going in different directions. I will say this: Slayer they've stayed kind of on even Diabolus and Music or whatever. I like that record. I don't care how much people hate it. I liked it, not the whole thing, but I liked it because it was something different. I mean, I could have done without the Korn down tuning. But there's some of my Stain of Mind is like one of my favorite Slayer songs. That there's a couple of other ones I really liked, but as you're in a career, you start doing things differently, and you start to try to do this, and you start to do something. Like I can understand the Black Album because what the next record that Metallica put out was going to be huge.
Right.
When I heard Bob Rock was producing it, I knew what was going to happen is what did happen. But if they would have had Terry Date come in there and produce their next album, which they should have, it still was going to be big. Still was going to be big.
Yeah.
Now I think
on that point, he is talking about that's whenever Metallica really changed. It is.
It is.
But people want to say Load was the point. No, Load was a continuation of the Black Album.
It was. It really was. I
think it was actually a better Black Album.
It was. I like the Black Album mix, but the Black Album to me was overproduced. But they were trying to do something. But that's when they changed, and then they put out Load and Reload. And I like Load and Reload. I do. I own those records. I even like a little bit. There's some Saint Anger I really like. But
yeah, there's some good music on there.
Yeah. But that was the last one I bought. I didn't like Death Magnetic. I didn't like was it 72C? No, it was Hardwired. I didn't like Hardwired, and I didn't like 72 Seasons. I think because they're just missing something. The new Megadeth is good. The new Metallica, not good. Sorry, nobody's going to sell me on it. Just listen to them. Listen to one and then listen to the other, and you tell me. Now, if you're a hardcore Metallica fan, you're going to disagree. But if you just listen to music, the person is going to say, well, obviously, the Megadeth is much better. And it is better.
Yeah.
I saw this clip of James. He listened, and I want to say he was blindly listening to the riff, and he's kind of being snide about it. And it was the new Megadeth, and it's James. Your new album is garbage. I'm sorry. I tried to listen to it, and I could not do it. And I don't want to hear that you guys have been around forever. So is Overkill. So is Megadeth. So is Anthrax. So the new Anthrax stuff blows Metallica out of the water.
Yeah, them two albums when Joey came back were awesome.
Then knocked it out of the park.
I'm so excited. I'm very excited for the new one.
Yeah, For All Kings destroys anything Metallica has done ever since Injustice for All. Sorry, So I feel that you know, I don't know, just like the newest Overkill, you know, Scorched. It's good, man. It's like to me, it's their best one that they put out in a while. You know, I like everything they do, but the newest one is I don't know what it is. Because they went back and fine tuned everything.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's their best album in
Yeah,
probably 13, 14 years.
I agree. I think so too. And I've liked everything they've done. I've never been let down, but the newest one, good. The new Metallica, trash. There, I've said it. Say it to everybody. I don't care. You know, I think it's like they need a producer to go in there and say, Kirk, you pulled out that fucking wah pedal. I'm going to hit you in the face with it. You're not using the wah pedal. Call Joe
Yeah.
Satriani. You need more lessons. Get back. You're going to listen to Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, and Justice for All. You're going to listen to those three for the next 2 months. And when you come in and do your solos, I want to hear that. I don't want to hear a wah pedal. I don't want to hear you're lazy, right? James, you don't get to have 9 months, 10 months a year to write songs. You're going to get it done. Like when they were in, you know, they were taken off. You know, you didn't have all this time. You get it together. They would write stuff on the road. They would get it ironed out.
Right.
And then you get in the studio, you hammer it out in a couple months. No, not 9 months, not a year, not, well, we're taking our time. No, because they're not in a hurry anymore.
I
They're just
think
not.
I think any genre of music, like whenever bands are up and coming and they write music on the road, they don't have distractions at home or time to really think about it. They just do it on instinct. I always think that's the best music.
Yeah, they just do it. You know, so a lot of times they'll fine tune solos here and there. They'll make some changes, but they just when you have all the time, they need a producer and not Rick Rubin. Rick Rubin, I don't care about Rick Rubin. They need somebody like they need to get like Terry Date in there and say, look, guys, this is what you're not gonna do, and this is what you're gonna do. Lars, he doesn't have to play double bass all the time. He doesn't have to. But you need to know when
Yeah.
and you need to know when to do it, right? Just
Yeah.
these guys are getting old, so you're not going to have Lars out there playing a million miles an hour for an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's not going to happen. It's just
Well,
not.
but what I was gonna say is, like on this tour, I've seen them play a bunch of their old music, and they can still do it. And I think they've got one more great thrash album in them if they wanted to do it.
Yeah, and they should.
I just maybe they're too full of themselves to go back to their roots and do it one more time.
Well, that's a shame because they have Robert Trio in the band now,
All right.
and I mean, and I'll tell you what, uh, Jason Newsted to me is underrated, and he has no offense to Robert, but who has a better stage presence? In my opinion, Jason Newsted. Jason Newsted has more energy. And to this day, you see him on stage, he's just Jason, right? He has a better stage presence to me. So I feel like they need to get a producer to say cut the crap, no wah pedals, no sitting there and trying to figure out what riff comes to your head. Okay, now work on that riff. You guys got a half an hour and I'll be back, and make them sit down and get it done. Seriously, because there's no urgency anymore. When you don't have urgency, you start to. As much as I'm not a big, Slayer fan, the new Kerry King, it's better than Metallica's new stuff.
Yeah.
It's way
He
better.
knows what
If I
he
had
knows
to
what he wants to
listen,
do, and he's not going to bitch up. He's going to
if
play what he likes.
if I had to listen to either the new Kerry King or the new Metallica, I'd say, oh, give me the Kerry King because I could still find stuff on it I like. New Metallica, it's not good, and I don't care. I do not care how mad people are going to get that I said that. That they need a producer to just kick their dicks in the dirt. No more playing around. No more 2-3 years. No more over. First of all, their guitar sound is really weak now. It is, or the stuff we listen to still has balls, right? Even Dave Mustaine, listen to the new Megadeth. James, you need to. I don't care what you think, you need to head that direction because your guys' stuff sounds just weak. It's weak.
Right.
The sound is weak. Your riffs are weak, and you're James Hetfield. And surely I know, actually not surely, I know he can do better than that.
And if they weren't legends, them albums would not sell.
That's right. Shit, Overkill got crap for the Black Album, even though I liked it and it was good. And the fans was, they would still go out because then they came out with WFO, and it just, but, Metallica, they can do anything because they put out the Black Album. They literally had videos for all, it was like Def Leppard's Hysteria. Metallica's Black Album had freaking videos for everything.
Yeah, the whole side A and half of side B.
Side B, yeah. So that was their Hysteria. They had, and they literally for years on it, they put out Load, and there was songs off it I liked. I'd be a liar if I said I bought Load and Reload. But then they came out with Saint Anger, and it sounded like shit, and everybody knows it. Everybody talks about the snare drum. But there's songs off it I like. Right. There is songs off it I like that I thought really were good. They just needed to, you know how it was in the early 2000s, bands were doing this thing where they're like Testament and like re-recording stuff. Metallica should have actually, when they were redoing all their records and putting them out on vinyl, they should have redone all the bass tracks on Injustice for All. They should have called Jason Newsted in and then redid all the bass tracks. You know how much better that record would sound with bass in it, especially Jason's style and how he kind of reminds me of Dee Dee. He hits those strings hard.
Yeah,
but they didn't, and because they can't admit they're wrong.
They done him dirty because that was his first album with them.
Yeah,
and they didn't want anybody outshining Cliff.
That's what I think.
That wouldn't happen anyway. I mean, Cliff's a legend,
right? But I think Jason Newsted was such a powerhouse, and I think if you'd have heard bass, that record would have been even better. And that's what they should have did when they re-released all their stuff on vinyl. They should have done that. They should have said, Jason, why don't we just get them in here? Let's just re-record it and throw those in the guitar tracks. Why don't we do that? And they could have, but for some reason they just didn't. Because I didn't buy any of those. Why would I? If you're not going to, especially if they would have brought Jason in, re-recorded all the bass tracks, put it on that record and on the CD, that record would have went through the roof. And I think they just didn't want to do that. I just think, and I would have to go more with, because, really when it comes to the business side of Metallica, it's Lars. It's not James, it's Lars. If they had half the sense, like, did you remember they were going to release some, it was like I want to say it was a demo or something that had Dave Mustaine on it. James contacts Dave. Dave's all about it. Dave, yeah, sure, let's do it. And then they weren't going to, and not Lars wasn't going to. It had to do with publishing and all that. And Dave was like, no, because I wrote. Dave wrote those songs, whatever it had to do with the business side, and they wouldn't. Lars wouldn't do what was necessary and what the right thing to do. So it never got released. And then some people were going after Dave, and I'm like, no, it's not Dave. I would never sign shit away that I know that I did. Everybody knows how important Dave was, especially for that first album.
Yeah. I mean, anybody that knows music. Yeah.
Yeah. Cut the shit. They should have done it, and then put that out and made a shit ton of money is what they should have done. They could, we all know how important Dave was to the beginning of Metallica. Okay. They didn't fall apart when he was gone. I mean, it wasn't like Metallica folded. No, they just kept going. They got, Kirk, and he's a great lead guitar player. And then, of course, Cliff Burton started to have a lot to do with their writing.
Yeah.
But Dave was very important. to the beginning of that band. He should have been there when they got abducted when they got inducted in the Hall of Fame. Dave should have been there, and it was really a kick in the dick. It would, they had to bring Jason there, because if they didn't have Jason there, that would have been bad for that whole band. And that too, because Jason was with them for a big portion of their records that they put out, all the singles, all that stuff. Jason was on it.
Yeah. Yeah, like what, from Justice to All, Justice for All.
Garage Days. Don't forget Garage Days.
Well, I'm not going to forget about that. I love that album.
That was the first. That's what Jason thought Injustice for All's bass was going to sound like. But then it came out and it didn't sound like that. There was no bass on it. But he was on Garage Days and Justice for All, Black Album. But then he was also on all the singles, right? Mm-hmm. That they put out. There was the two they put out. What's that? Bread Fan and The Prince. And then they did all the live albums that he gets paid for. All the, then the Black Album and all the 4 billion singles they put out with that. And then they had a year and a half in the life of Metallica. Then they had Load. Then they had Reload. Then they had the S&M. Get it, S&M? Huh? Dorks. Then they had Cunning Stunts. I always wish I would have bought that, but I didn't. All this. I mean, everything.
Yeah, he was there for a lot of their big years.
Yep. And
I mean, that's who I grew up with.
Yeah, that was their formative. That was the years when they started. And Justice for, I was like, Kill 'Em All, bam. I heard of Metallica just because of, Kill 'Em All, then Ride the Lightning, then Master of Puppets. Then they they did Injustice for All, and then it went from this to this. And then when they did the Black Album, it was like shoot straight up, and they've been like that. Then they started to peter off with their albums, but then they just toured the shit out of everything.
Yeah. I wish I was like 10 years older, because I was like 10 years old whenever the Black Album, Countdown to Extinction, all that came out. But even with that, whenever I heard Metallica, I had the Black Album, but that thing collected dust because I was listening to the 4 before that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, Kerry King said there's songs off the Black Album he likes. I mean, just because it's a sellout album doesn't mean that there's not good stuff on it. And like I said, The next album could have been Injustice for All too. It was going to be just as big. If they would have shortened because the one thing they noticed when they were playing songs off Injustice for All live, the songs are so long, it took up majority of the set. So they made a conscious effort to shorten their songs, which they should have done, right? They should have done that. But putting out Nothing Else Matters, that's not brave. Oh, that was a brave song. No, it wasn't. It was a terrible song. The only thing I could say good about it was the solo. That simple solo was one of the best solos on that record.
Yeah. I think my favorite song off that record was My Friend of Misery or The God That Failed. Those were my two favorites.
The God That Failed is a heavy song. Dun, dun, dun. The My Friend of Misery started off as it was going to be an instrumental, but The God That Failed, that's a heavy song.
Yeah,
I like it too. Dun, 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 dun.
I mean, when I did play that cassette tape and my Walkman back in the day,
back in the olden days,
it was always the B-side that I listened to. I thought that was where the best music was on that album.
Yeah, it's all the bands, Metallica or Overkill did their Black Album. All the bands did a album that were kind of slower. I think, but then what they did, Overkill did with the I Hear Black, was they were doing a lot of the songwriting in the studio. They were trying something. They were doing things different. Okay. Now they've always done slow songs. Every record of theirs has a slow song and all that stuff. But when fans expect something from you and they didn't deliver, but they were doing a lot of things, and I like the record. I still put that in because there's only so much fast I can tolerate till you want to hear something different. But then
Yeah.
Exodus did theirs, and uh they did Force of Habit. I like that record. Testament did The Ritual. You know what? The Ritual is a record that they should re-record, remix, and send back out because the guitars sound really they sound so dull. It doesn't sound good. I don't know what happened. I didn't like the sound of it. But I like the songs on The Ritual. But all the bands started doing something, slowing down. Flotsam and Jetsam did Quattro, which was it's a good record. But then, Metallica continued, but then they went for decade. It felt like almost before they put out, because I was in high school. I was going to be a senior in high school when the Black Album came out. It was years later when I saw it over at your house, your mom's house. I saw a video for Hero of the Day.
I think Until It Sleeps was the first video they released for that.
Was it? But the first one I saw was Hero of the Day, and I liked it, and I liked Until It Sleeps. I would totally rewrite that song, but I like the song. I like the main riffs, but
yeah, I think that was 5 years in between on them two albums.
Yeah,
that's too long.
What did you think of of Megadeth's Risk album?
Well, I didn't hate it as much as everybody else did because I'm a big Megadeth fan.
They could do no wrong. Shut up.
No, I didn't say it was great by any means, but I found the good in it.
Yeah.
I listened to that whole album and I found the good in it.
I like Breadline. Don't ask me what it is about that song. I even liked his vocals on that song.
Yeah, it's a good song.
It's a great song.
I think there's one, The Doctor's Calling. I think that's the name of the song on there. I like that one a lot.
I feel like Dave gave you a heads up what was coming when the name of the record was Risk. It was a big risk. I don't think it was trash, but I mean, it was not Megadeth. And then they had that song, wasn't it Crush 'Em, that was on there?
Yeah, it was on that. That got introduced from that new Universal Soldier movie that came out at the time. It was on that soundtrack.
Yeah, Dave did a bunch of soundtracks. He was on all kind. He was on Shocker. Shocker. He was on what else did they do? They did
Bill and Ted.
Bill and Ted. That's the one I was trying to think of.
Last Action Hero.
I love that song. That is one of my favorite Dave Mustaine Megadeth kick-ass songs is Angry Again. I like that begin. I like that. That's a great. I love that song.
And then they had that movie Demon Knight, the Tales from the Crypt movie. They did Diadems for that. And that one was a really dark song.
Oh yeah. I didn't know he was. I knew Pantera was on that.
Yeah. Yeah, but that is one of my favorite albums to listen to is the Hidden Treasures album with all the soundtrack music on it.
Yeah, love that. Dave I'm glad he's still going. I am. I'm glad he didn't, he went through his cancer issue and he's back out on the road. He's back touring, got it together, put out a better album than Metallica. I'm going to say it. I don't care. It's so much better. And, it is what it is. I think that Dave, to me, he's like the survivor of, I don't want to say just the music industry, but of thrash because, everything he keeps going. Dave Mustaine is the friend. If you want an honest opinion, he's kind of a lot like Kerry King. If you want an honest opinion and you have tough skin, ask them their opinion on something because they may or may not tell you what you want to hear. You need friends like that. You need somebody to go. Let's just say you and I, we put a song out and we like it. And Dave Mustaine, he listens to it and you want him to give you an honest opinion. I can do with, I don't like it because of this, this, and this. Well, that could be the reasons he gives you could be why you like it. You see what I mean? That could be why
Yeah.
you like, well, we like, that's why we like it. But if you want to have your head petted, don't go to Dave Mustaine. If you want an honest opinion, if you want that friend, you go to that guy. You know, he's going to tell you that, and that I agree with that. That would be, if I had a band and I put out a record, I would want Dave to listen to it and give me an honest opinion of it, and he's going to. So if you want somebody to stroke you, well, hey, watch what I say. He's not the guy. If if he doesn't like it, he's going to tell you. Same thing with Kerry King. He's going to tell you what he thinks. So I would love to meet Dave Mustaine, even though he's not my favorite band or anything. It's just I grew up with I grew up in that era, and it was always brought up. And Dave never had a problem with James, still doesn't. But yeah.
Yeah, especially after this long, like I always say, you should get over it by now.
Get
if there
over
was,
it.
If he did have a problem with him, but I think that's what he did over the years. He got over it. He just did his thing.
He's Dave Mustaine. I watched that year and a half, and not that. What was that? Some Kind of Monster. And I'm watching that. That took a lot. I will say that took a lot of balls to put that out, because Metallica, they looked exact, and they knew how they looked. They look a bunch of spoiled rock stars, right? And Jason had nothing to do. Smartest thing he did was walk away. He's a lot healthier. He's a lot better. But they did that interview with Dave Mustaine, and I'm watching it, and you could see how uncomfortable Lars felt, because at the end of the day, what they did was wrong. I mean, I understand why they did it. I understand, they were just kids and bad choices were made. But I'm watching that and I'm going, Dave, what are you doing? You are Dave fucking Mustaine. Who gives a shit? It really bothered him, though. All those years, he felt like he was still getting kicked down, and I just felt like, I wish I could have been in the room. I'd have said, what are you, nuts? You're Dave Mustaine. What the hell do you even care? But we weren't in that. We don't know what it's like, because I'm sure when he was sober, when he was sober and stuff, and they were all buds and they all hung out, and it wasn't all bad times. I think that's what it is. They had some great times. There's regrets, but Dave has done enough. He regrets kicking James's dog, right? He said he should, he feels bad for it. Okay, but you've apologized enough, dude. Right? Or he regrets punching James in the face. He wishes he would have if he would go back, he would have never done that. Of course you wouldn't, because you younger, and he's admitted, he drank he wanted to fight, all that stuff. Okay, but that was how many decades ago now? Right?
Yeah.
It's
40 years ago.
Yeah, nobody gives a shit. Dave has done enough talking about it and stuff. I feel like James needs to fucking put his balls back on and sit down with Dave and just have a discussion. If you feel guilty, James, about something, just tell him. I don't think Dave is going, I feel that's what needs to happen. I feel like, I don't know, because think about it. Even James reached out to Dave when he was going through his cancer shit. And that meant a lot to Dave, because James is not a complete asshole. But I feel like him and Dave need to sit down and have a discussion. Nobody has anything to prove anymore. Sorry, Metallica, Megadeth won. Listen to your past few albums. With that being said, those two guys need to sit down and just have a talk.
And form a super group.
I wish they would. We discussed this. I wish they would. I think that would be the best thing to happen. I bet you know what? James needs that. James needs to be in some kind of little bit of a competition, friendly competition with Dave.
That's what I was going to say. That's probably what it would take to make a better Metallica album.
Yeah. Yes.
To get back in there with some guys that actually want to write some real music and not bullshit.
Yeah. Get Dave and James, sit down, work it out. you know, we know how Dave is. Dave's going to tell you, and an adult can handle it. A child gets its butt hurt. James and Dave are two different people. And now all these years later, they could sit down, work it out, right? Work out the shit, and then sit down in a room and write some music. It's that simple. Right. And yes, they can do it. Stop crying. Stop the bullshit. Nobody wants to hear 72 seasons. Okay? People want to hear, I want to hear the James Hetfield that I grew up with as a kid. That's what I want to hear. And you don't have to be drunk to do so. You can be stone sober. Right?
Yeah.
Because
a lot of great music.
Yeah. So that's what they need. I think James needs Dave, to be honest with you. Get that friendly competition back. Hammer out some songs. And then get you
side by side and let him show you how to play guitar again.
Yeah, because Dave even said James is a great he is. James is a great guitar player. You need a rhythm guitar player in a band, I think. I think that, you can have two people peeling off solos. That's great, but I think the meat of the song is the riff. James was always good at that. Now, not so much. I don't know what the fuck is going on. I just don't. It doesn't. I heard when Overkill released the Scorch. I'm like, God damn. They're back. They've always been here, but now they're back. Then you listen to 72 seasons. It's like, yep. Well, they're going to sell out.
Same day release.
Oh, yeah.
I remember I pre-ordered them both, and I told my wife, I said, I'm listening to Overkill first.
Yeah, they're not going to let you down. If you like the vocals or you can tolerate the vocals, you're going to be fine with the new Over. And it was a freaking amazing. I bought that fucking thing. Right. I heard I knew I didn't bother with Metallica because I knew what I was going to get. And sure enough, I got it. What I heard on YouTube. Yeah. I'm like, nah, that's okay. Bye-bye.
Well, you know me. I'm the completionist. I had to have it to have all their albums.
I gotta have it. I have it. So
now it's collecting dust.
Yeah, I would love to have those two guys, right? Get in a room, work it out. They're not getting any younger. I'm going to tell you something. There's nothing worse than guilt. James and Dave have they have the unresolved issues, and it's not issues where they're going to, there's anger. It's just they need to sit down in a room and talk about it. It's past, whose fault it is. It's past all the BS. Sit down, talk about it. Get your guitars out and start, putting, it doesn't matter who writes most of the songs. It doesn't matter who does what, put something out, put you a band. I already told you who I would want singing right away. Ripper Owens, first person, Tim Owens, because he can get the highs, he can get the lows. My second choice would be Chuck Billy.
That was my first choice.
Was that your first choice?
I just kind of wanted to see a whole Bay Area.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Guys.
Okay, I could see that.
That's why Chuck Billy's my original choice.
Okay, and I can go with that too. I would be happy with that because I love Chuck. Chuck Billy to me, besides Blitz, is like, sorry, I will always say Blitz, but that has got that deep voice that he can do death metal, but he can sing, not as high, but he's got it's something about his voice is metal. If I had to pick a bass player, it would be either Steve DiGiorgio, Jason Newsted. I'd put Frankie Bello in there, I don't know. There's like a million of them. Not David Ellefson.
He's an Overkill right now.
I know. What are they doing? Because they don't care what he does. Because I think I'm hoping Ellefson learned his lesson. What are you doing?
I don't think he would be an option anyway after what happened with Megadeth.
Who else would be there's somebody who could play but have a stage presence. Then drummers. Van Williams from Nevermore. He is my favorite drummer. I mean, I know. I mean, if you listen to their music at least, that drummer is freaking amazing, and he's so underrated. You never hear anybody talk about him. Van Williams is to me is the best, one of the best drummers I have ever heard.
I always tell you I don't mind the music. I just hate it when the vocals come up. If they were an instrumental band, I would like them.
I love his vocals. That's a whole other. Nevermore is a whole story. How I got into them by pure accident, and the thing that sold me, besides the music, I mean, especially the earlier stuff, is the vocals, because everybody had, everybody. It's not that they sounded the same, but they all had the same style. Now Warrell Dane was his name. He can sing, but he sounds different than like Joey Belladonna. He sounds different than, Jeff Tate. And what the fuck is Queensryche doing? Are you kidding me?
I don't know what they're doing right now.
Exactly. Nobody cares. Just like with fucking Skid. You're making me swear now. What is Skid Row doing? I never listened to them, but now you have who? Really? Singing? Get the fuck out of here. Nobody cares. Get Sebastian Bach in. Nobody cares about Lizzie Hale. I don't care that she's singing. You guys, it's not helping you. You're not selling out fucking state. If they would just grab hold of their balls and act like men and realize that music is a business, they all need to sit in a room and iron it out. And that goes for Sebastian. Look, there might be things that annoy them about you. Why don't you at least own it? Own your shit. Maybe you're a prima donna. I don't know. I don't know anything. Because
he's definitely a big personality.
Yeah. Oh, does he outshine you? He's the singer, idiot.
He's supposed to.
Yeah, that's the guy you have out front. That's what you want. Other people have worked with him, including Steve DiGiorgio. Did you know that he played with, before he got back? And there was a point he got offered a gig, the gig to play with Sebastian. He got along just fine. He's friends with this guy.
I didn't know that, but I believe it.
Yeah. So what are we doing?
I mean, what's Skid Row? I've seen Sebastian on Trailer Park Boys, so he can't be bad. He seems cool as shit on that show.
He's probably because he is. I never listened to Skid Row. I don't care. I knew when they came out with Slave to the Grind, that was a complete right turn from what they were doing. And he can do those songs, right? So we can be Skid Row and work out our differences, sit down, be honest about everything. Or you could be a bunch of clown has-beens and have Lizzie Hale sing. Well, we know what you would rather do. Get the fuck out of here. You're done. That's just childish. Now, with what I will say with Queensryche is they all have made amends, right? There's no more fighting. It's done. Jeff Tate's doing his thing, and they're doing theirs, and that's great. But Skid Row, are you kidding me? They even had the singer from Dragon Force. He's a great singer. He can sing. Didn't help.
I remember that a long time ago.
Oh my God! When I saw that Lizzie Hale was going to be in Skid Row, I don't know if they're. I mean, last I heard was she's going to sing. It's like, what? Are you guys that fucking childish? You don't understand. I go to work and there's people I don't like, but I get along with them, right? You have to. It's because that's when you're an adult, you do that. You're all there to do one thing: make money, get the job done, and go home. And I still talk to them. I still joke with them. It's just I can't. It's a struggle, but you still do it. And it can't be all bad with Sebastian. So I don't know. Lizzie Hale. Oh God. I remember.
That subject just drives you crazy.
Yes, it does, because
I don't know how many times I've heard you talk about it.
Because I can't stand
I think you're a closet Skid Row fan.
I will say when they came out with Slave to the Grind, it wasn't heavy enough for me, but it was better than their last record. And they've been going through all these things, and I read these articles in like Blabbermouth and Loudwire. We're just in a better place. We don't want to. You're not in any place. There's last place, and then there's you guys. That's where you're at. What are you doing?
Yeah, they're the guys.
Yeah,
they're the guys cares. That's playing like these Summerfest with has-been glam rock guys. That's what they're doing.
Congratulations, you become trickster. Get the fuck out of here. Nobody cares.
Oh, you want to hear something funny? By the way, because we was talking about glam rock and stuff. My dad and I were in Tennessee this week, and we were leaving this mall because there was a vinyl store in there I wanted to see. And I see a flyer up. I said, "Oh, look at that! Striper's playing at this mall."
Oh my Jesus!
It just made me laugh so much. I said, "Freaking Striper!" I never even thought I'd hear that name again.
Oh my God! Listen. I believe in God and all that stuff, right? But I never listened to Striper, and I never will. Congratulations. I still don't give a shit. I will listen to, Slayer before I listen to, by the way, Seasons of the Abyss has to be my favorite Slayer album.
Well, it should be, because it's
even over Rain and Blood, and South of Heaven too. I love South of Heaven. So by the way,
Seasons is great. That's my favorite too.
So
then Divine Intervention after that for me.
Yeah, I would have to say Seasons in the Abyss, South of Heaven, Rain and Blood, Divine Intervention. Those four. I every once in a while I'll pop one in. I'll have to listen to Dead Skin Mask or something. But I will listen to those before I listen to Striper. Okay.
Well, you should, because they're good music and Striper's crap.
Nobody cares about Striper. I'm sorry. The reason I get so fired up about Skid Row is because they are lying to themselves. They are lying to themselves. They're no better position. I remember it was years ago. God damn it. I remember when Lizzie Hailstorm came to town, right? And I didn't care for it. I listened to some of it, because they were up and coming. Of course, I'll listen to anything. It's not because she's a girl, because my favorite girl singer is that girl that sings with Devin Townsend. She's amazing. He did two. He did Addicted and Epic Cloud. Okay, so I listened to it. I didn't like it, right? I did not like Lizzie Hale or Hailstorm. I said, no, I don't like it. Oh my God, but she's so hot. I said, oh my God, I don't care. No, I'm not going, and I don't like their music. I said, what the hell does that have to do with anything? Have you seen her
that's
lately?
what I was going to say. What's her looks have to do with their music?
Yeah, I don't care. So you're telling me that's your go-to and I didn't dog their music. I just said, no, I don't care for it. That's all I said. So what are you doing? So now years later, it's haunting me that she's singing in arguably one of the best cock rock bands that came out in that era, which is Skid Row, because it was teetering on heaviness. You know what I mean? Especially, and you just you refuse to put the singer in that needs to be there. Is it because of contracts? It's a business, and trust me, you guys are going to make money if you put him back in there. I don't know. I get so fired up. We have Lizzie Hale.
Maybe because all them other guys are losers that nobody knows.
I mean, I can't.
And they're like, well, maybe we'll get some of this young girl.
Oh, wow. Jesus.
I'm joking.
I read something where, I don't know, Lizzie Hale, I think she did a song, about a threesome or something. I said, congratulations. You've gotten your hole stretched out. Don't care. How about why would that even be something that would have to pop up in my feed that I don't even care about? Listen, ditch Lizzie Hale, okay, and put Sebastian Bach. Put all you guys quit. You're not even stars like Metallica. You're just not. Get your shit together. Get in a room with Sebastian. Talk about it. Iron out your problems. Say, listen. Be honest. If you get the truth out to him, and you guys, you're gonna see that you sound ridiculous being as old as you are.
Right.
Carrying on like no. It's not integrity. It's stupid.
I'm pretty sure if he came back and joined them, if it was cheap enough, I'd probably go watch him play just because I'm a fan of Sebastian Bach because I think he's a
I
cool
would
guy.
love to meet him. I'd be honest to his face. Look, I never cared for Skid Row, but you guys did tour with Pantera. I've seen him in interviews. He's a nice guy. He's got a personality. He's big. He's a big personality. You would want that. I would love to have that in a band. Good. He can do that, you know. I
Yeah.
mean, yes, we all know about the shirt he wore. You know, he apologized for it. You remember that shirt, don't you? We'll
No.
talk about it off air. I'm not going to bring that whole thing up. He apologized. Still funny. I'm sorry. You
Yeah.
know.
Once we talk about it, I might remember it.
Yeah, and he apologized, and it's just like, oh my God. I hope that's not the one thing you guys are hemming your. Why? Because somebody's going to bring it up. Oh, who gives a shit about it?
Well,
Enough. Stop
they
crying.
shouldn't care about it because he's still more successful than they are.
I know. Isn't that ironic? He apologized, and he should he have worn it? No. He was just being a wise ass, probably, and it affected some people, and he apologized. I'm hoping that's not what's holding them. I don't know. I just get aggravated.
I just think they're pissed off that they went on to be nothing and he stayed relevant.
He did stay relevant. He did.
That probably pisses them off a lot.
Good. You guys are being fucking crybabies. And it's not
Get
even
a personality
my band.
if you don't like it.
Yeah, it just aggravates me to no end that when they're that, that's kind of like I get aggravated with James because of that too. Who knows, maybe they've sat down and they've worked out their shit. But Dave really would love to write music with him again. It just for some reason James won't. Why? What are you doing? Sit down.
Maybe his daddy won't let him, Daddy Lars.
That as much as I love to give Lars grief, he's a really smart guy. He's a very smart guy. Business-wise, he is very smart. And to me, he's ahead of it. Even the whole Napster thing, he was ahead of the curve. And now people regret where the part of the problem part of the music industry, not metal, but music industry, is because of Napster. And nobody seized on the opportunities of what they should have. So with that being said, oh fuck Lars. You guys are you were supposed to move. Yeah, please. We all know can you imagine if they had a different drummer? That's all I'm saying. And I'll say this again, and it's the last time I'm going to say it. Lars should be drumming for COC. Lars hits. He's not as heavy hitter as he was. He's not in his 20s or 30s. But I always thought he should be the drummer in COC. Since I first heard COC, especially after the Black album, I was like, God damn, he really should be playing with COC. That's just me.
He would fit in.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know personality wise, but
well,
musicianship wise, yeah.
A lot of people give Lars. He's got a lot of people do like Lars, actually, all the way to Dave Lombardo. A lot of guys. As everybody gets older, but that's all I got. That's it. I'm done ranting about Skid Row and James, but it just aggravates me, that I can't with Skid Row. I can't, and just that whole scene, the whole cock rock scene. They were, I like Wasp. Now, I don't know if I would classify Wasp as cock rock, but I like Wasp. I like his vocals. I always have.
I would call that more borderline with Queensryche.
Well, I would actually
not the same kind of music, but
that look. I would kind of, to me, it's kind of like you take Kiss and you mix it with, I want to say, the LA scene, and you take Motley Crue and you turn it to Rated X, and you know what I'm saying, and then you get Wasp. I mean, Wasp is really catchy, and that's enough. I mean, I like it. I don't know. I mean, I don't own every Wasp song, but I like his vocals, and all the way down to the business decisions he made. I think he made the right ones. There's a drummer that bitches about him. Well, that drummer also had a heroin issue. And I listened to on their first record, there was a real big issue with the drummer. You have Chris Holmes. He had a serious issue. He was like in and out of the band. And of course, there's a business. You sign your contracts. That's Blackie's band, whether people like it or not, just like Kiss. Kiss gets they've gotten attacked through the years, but you sign contracts. You're not being tricked. And when it is what it is, but there again, I like Wasp. I think he needs to stop wearing leather pants. They all need to. You guys, come on now. No more leather pants for you. Stop. And that goes for you too, Carrie. No more. You were Jeff, not Jeff Hanneman, but what's his face? Exodus. Gary. No, I saw you in leather pants. That was so bad.
I don't know. I've seen Gary Holt a lot lately with the Exodus, and every time I've seen him, he didn't have the leather pants on.
It's a good thing. Well, it's because he was in Slayer, and that's what they do. I would have said, hell no. My fat ass ain't squeezing into these fucking things. Oh,
one thing I know he likes is his Kill the Kardashian shirt. It seems like every time I've seen him, he wears that, and I love it.
No, everybody's done with the fucking Kardashians, but look, the reason I wanted to do this, of course we go off topic as always, but it's that one band that, and it's always what, you get into a genre and you start listening to this stuff and these bands, but there's always that one band. Sometimes it's two or three, there's a group of bands I like that are my favorites, but Overkill is my favorite. That's the one I always listen to. And it's always interesting. Well, how did you get it? What was it? You don't know. It's like just that one thing. You hear something and it catches your ear.
Yeah.
And just like with you and Megadeth, I found it. You started off in Metallica, but then you heard Megadeth, and that was it. It was just something about that band that grabbed your ear, and it was all over.
I felt it.
Yeah, I think
the first time I heard Megadeth, heard him playing fast like that, it almost like gave me goosebumps. I was like, "This is my band."
Yeah, he is. He's a fucking shredder. Like I said, he was at the forefront of that.
And then shortly after, I started hearing Slayer, and they're probably my second favorite band.
If I had a second favorite band, I'd have to say Death would be my second favorite band. But then it's hard to say because
it's not a bad one to have.
It's not, but I also like Anthrax. I like mainly the Joey Belladonna, but I love the John Bush stuff, right? I just like he's got a unique voice. But then I like Flotsam and Jetsam, right? But I like Exodus. Exodus is they are the ones who remind me the most of, like, they're kind of like Megadeth. They kind of have intricate stuff.
Lately, probably like the last 4 to 5 years, Exodus has really been a big time listening for me.
Yeah, I'm glad they got there. I'm glad Steve is back. I did not care for Dukes. I mean, he might have been the coolest guy. He might be a cool guy. I don't care how cool he is. I didn't like his voice at all. And I tried to listen to Shovel-Headed Machine or whatever the hell it was called. I bought it, and I just couldn't. Nah. I couldn't. And I was kind of sad too, because some of the best music was on there.
I mean, Exodus, I was really late to the party. Tempo of the Damned's what got me into them.
God damn, you were late to the party.
Yeah, I know. I said I was really late to the party.
Tempo of the Damned was good too.
Yeah.
I like that. I mean, there is something about the H Team, is what they were known as. Gary Holt and Rick Hunolt. It's too bad Rick, he had a drug problem. He had to bow out of the tour. I think he's good now. I think he's even doing some music and stuff. But to me, that's Exodus. Those two guys
Yeah.
are Exodus. I like the stuff they do with the other guy, but it's Exodus. But it's Rick and Gary. I'm sorry, and there's nothing that can change my mind on it because I've been listening to them. You know.
Yeah. I think I heard Force of Habit a little bit with you, before that came out, but that album was what got me into Exodus.
Tempo of the Damned. I liked it too. Man, and they got, and then of course, and it's so ironic that, Steve admitted where, his fault, what had happened, right? It's a big personal thing, but it also carried into the band, left the band in a lurch, and then he made up for it, right? And they took him back, which was the smartest thing they could have done. He owned it. He said, he took complete blame. And then Gary was like, there was like enough talk about it. He admitted it. It's good. And move on. That's kind of Gary's attitude on the whole thing. Well, that's because Gary's an adult, and there's only so much pounding somebody should take for making a mistake. And Gary just he'd moved on from it. It's fine to him. So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm thinking, Dave Mustaine, James Hetfield. I'm going to, every once in a while, we should just talk about that on here. Just to get it out there, put it out in the universe that those two guys should sit down, write something, get it figured out.
Well,
Same thing with Skid Row.
I'm going to see Megadeth in September. I should buy a meet and greet pass and bring it up to him.
Yeah, yeah, Dave is a fucking survivor. I'm telling you, and I will stand by it. Dave, to me, is a very, very, very important piece of the thrash puzzle, right? He's the he got all this stuff around him, and then you put Dave in because Dave kind of, especially in that area, everybody knew who Dave Mustaine was, and he could just peel that guitar, and Kerry King said how incredibly fast he was, right? So there you go. I mean, and James needs that. James needs a kick in the dick from somebody who would be his friend.
Right.
Dave doesn't want anything from James. You could tell in our interviews, and it's just too bad. I don't know. I don't even want to. I'm not going to get on it. And another thing is, if anybody watches this, I do not hate Lizzie Hale, for fuck's sakes. I can't. It makes me sick that they refuse. They have a chance now, and they refuse to work it out. When Anthrax sat down, and Joey got, and it took some time too for everything but they were all a bunch of men, and they go, you know what? I was wrong here. We should have not. I need more water, but I'm getting ready to wrap this up. But, we need to, they sat down, ironed it out, and went about their ways. Exodus did the same thing. Gary Holt said, okay, he's apologized enough. Let's forget about it. Let's just move on. You have people doing that, but for some unknown reason, Skid Row would rather be has-beens than be something that they could literally work it out and put out another Slave to the Grind.
Right.
But no, they refuse to. And I just fucking makes me want to kick somebody in the nuts. That's how angry the whole situation.
You know what? I never met any of the guys, and I don't care if they hear this. Petty losers.
Yeah, they just you were big, and you were gone. You could come back, and you refused to. You have Motley Crue, which is a fucking shit show. I hope Vince is okay, but did you hear that he fell face first on stage?
Yeah, I was trying to find a video, but I never could.
Oh my Jesus, dude! I hope
like
he's
every
okay.
time I saw that thumbnail, I never saw the fall. It's like they cut it off before he fell. I was like, I want to see Butterball fall.
And that's another thing, Vince, enough. There is no reason he could not get his fat ass into shape. He doesn't have to be ripped like, skinny when he was a kid, but you can be in shape. There's no reason why he's not in decent shape.
Yeah.
At least
get in between like Axl Rose shape or something to get back on stage.
Yeah, work out, get in exercise, practice. It's an instrument just like a guitar. You get, what are you doing? Vince. Now, if those guys could go out on stage and deal with each other, What the hell is Skid Row doing? Skid Row's music was way better than Motley Crue's. I'm sorry, it was heavier. It was. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know, you can have Shout at the Devil. No, that album was garbage. Their heavy record was Dr. Feelgood. You know, Wild Side, okay, I guess. You know, I never took that band serious. I never took Motley Crue. I couldn't. I did like the one they did with John Corabi. That record was good.
I mean, I like listening to Motley Crue. Not every song, but
But my thing
you
is,
know,
dude, if
if I want something a little more mellow, some people say mellow. Yeah,
yeah,
I love
it's
metal. It's
yeah,
mellow.
it's if if those guys can, and even just, I'm sure it's not all hate on the road. Okay, they're older now, they have separate buses, but that's because they all are different people now. That doesn't mean they can't be friends and go out on tour. It's not like they were there, you know, in the early days drinking themselves retarded and going on. No, now they're all older and they all have different likes. If they can iron out their shit and tolerate each other, you're going to tell me Skid Row can't? Get the fuck out of here. And I'm back on Skid Row again, and I don't want to be. I'm done.
Yeah, we gotta get out of here. I'm
Yeah,
ready
I
to
know.
eat.
I gotta feed my dude. My poor son. Listen to me rant and rave. Look, that's it. That's all I got. Overkill. They're still, you know, still thrashing it, going, you know, still touring, still doing it. Megadeth is they're bigger than Overkill, and he's still going. So, you know, there you have it. So
And
that's all I
Anthrax
got.
is still awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward.
Metallica, what's your excuse?
Yeah, what are you doing? Even Kerry King, you know, there's no more Slayer. Okay, well, I guess they're going to do some couple of shows together, whatever. Kerry King got out there and put out if you like Slayer, you're going to be happy. You know what you're going to get. Metallica, it's a fucking crapshoot what you're going to get music wise. Kerry King did it. What are you doing, Metallica? I'm sorry, you're not being all, you know. He heard that riff that Dave played. And, no, it's the. I don't think he knew it was Dave. Okay, I don't know. Did you ever see that clip? Well, it's the same thing. It's like, shit, bitch, have you heard your shit? Your shit is terrible. I can't get into it, and I don't listen to it. James, you're James Hatfield. Sit down with Dave, figure it out. I'm done talking about it until the next time I bring it up and I go on another rant because Dave Mustaine deserves more credit than he gets. And I'm an Overkill fan. I'm sorry. It's Overkill for me, but Dave does not get, especially the formation, the beginnings of Metallica. He should have been at. Matter of fact, he's probably, I don't want to say the only reason, but he's probably the main one of like the big reason Metallica got signed to Megaforce.
No.
So that's it. That's all I got. Overkill forever. They're still wrecking necks, and it is what it is. And they're from the East, and they're still from the East Coast,
West Coast. We out.
East Coast, New York, New Jersey. We're out.
All right.
Later.
Oakland out.